Hello, my name is Sergeant Gonzalo Duran, and I'm the host of Vet Talk. I'm happy to be back on the air thanks to our sponsors, JM Empire Media and Vero G Production. If you are an organization dedicated to helping veterans, we would like to have you on our show. Feel free to email me at ceo@devildogusainc.org or feel free to call me at 516-515-0240. If you'd like to see what else we're doing, check out our website at www.devildogusainc.org. As always, God bless America. Hello, everyone. My name is Sergeant Gonzalo Duran, the host of Vet Talk. Today's guest is Patrick McManus, the chairman of the Conservative Party. Pat, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Gonzalo.
Well, to start this conversation, what is the Conservative Party?
Well, the technical definition of the Conservative Party was founded in 1962. It's one of the four recognized political parties in New York State. We have guaranteed ballot access, and which helps greatly. But the party was founded in 1962 by a group of men and women here in New York that felt the state was moving towards a almost as like a welfare state, where the entire populace should be dependent on the government. And the founders sought to create a political party which would bring back the traditional American values and place self-responsibility and, self-effort that people need to work to give themselves a better life. The government should assist with that, but it wasn't up to the government, and that is why the party was founded back in 1962.
So why would somebody want to join the Conservative Party?
Well, again, as I mentioned, we believe in the traditional American values: family, home, your religion, whichever it may be, that each individual has those rights. But along with those rights come responsibilities. We're living today, our society is turning to a society where the citizens look to the government for answers. And that's not the way the system is supposed to work. Our country was founded on us giving the government the answers and depending on them to carry it out.
All right. So, you're giving us like the definition, like the dictionary type of definition.
Yes.
Recently I knew you were coming on, so I randomly asked a couple of people, and for the most part, I got the Democrats are for poor people and the Republicans are for the rich people. And now you mentioned there's four parties that have ballot access,
Yes.
which is the Conservative Party and
It's the main party, the largest party is the Democratic Party. Then is the Republican Party. Then is the Conservative Party. And the latest is the newest, the Working Families Party.
Okay. So now, if somebody was just coming off the street, just like I was asking these people, and they were saying, well, the Democrats are for the poor and the Republicans are for the rich, what would that line up with the Conservative Party?
Well, the conservatives are for the individual. I think it's very a big misconception that the Democratic Party is for the working man or for the poor man. One time it may have been. I was a Democrat in my youth. My grandparents were hardcore Democrats, and I was taught when I was younger to believe that the Democrats were working for us, the working people. As I grew up and I matured, I became very involved in unions, and I kind of saw that they were not really working for us. They had their own agenda, and they were working to forward their own agenda, and were handing down just enough crumbs to keep the working man following along. I think these days, as I said myself, as I grew older, I realized it. And I think that's one of the things we're experiencing today. That they give our youth enough just to keep them hooked. At the end of the day, they're not really working for the citizens. They're working for themselves and their party. Unfortunately, I've seen the Republican Party turn in the same fashion as well. It's our political system has just become very corrupted, and neither one of the parties are working for the citizens anymore.
Well, and once again, me asking these questions to the individuals before coming and talking to you, some of they took it a little further. Some of them took it a little further. They were like, over 95% of New York City's election officials are Democrats.
Yes.
And the way the system is right now, a lot of them are happy with it. And then when they look at what the Republican Party has done, it was more they're not really seen, but you hear them, you just don't see them.
Right.
But I was dumbfounded to find out that there were Republicans in the urban community in the Bronx.
Right.
But in between talking to other individuals, I didn't see that many conservatives though.
Right.
Now, what do you think the disconnect is there?
Well, there's a big misconception on what the Conservative Party is. Even it infuriates me when you look up the word Conservative Party on Wikipedia, it comes up as a right-wing political organization. Nothing could be further from the truth. But it is a misconception shared by many. Again, the Conservative Party is about the individual. It's getting away from the collective and letting each man be his own man.
Now, I've had some interviews in the past with mostly Democrats. So you're my first conservative, which I thank you for that.
Well, thank you for giving us a voice, because it's not often we are given this opportunity.
Now, I remember when I was doing my search of individuals to ask to come on, there used to be an independent party.
Yes.
And so when you mentioned the ballot access, you didn't mention the independent party.
Well, they lost their standing as a political party in New York State in 2019 when Governor Cuomo passed some legislation, changed some election laws. He changed the requirements to be recognized as a party here in New York State. The main requirement is getting a specified number of votes in a gubernatorial election. In 2019, the rules were changed. The Conservative Party fought it on the state level. We fought in court. He tried to make the number an insurmountable number for any parties other than the Republican and Democrat. The Conservative Party was successful through the courts in reducing that number to, I believe it's 135,000. And the second caveat to the law change was it would be done during the presidential election for the first time in 2020. So at that time, I think it was 6 parties had ballot access. But you were required to get the 135 votes on your line, and any party that did not was dissolved as a recognized political party in New York State.
All right, so now from 6 to 4 then.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
And now if there is an independent party, per se, do you see the Conservative Party as something like that?
Well, most people confuse independent party. Well, it was the Independence Party. Was actually the name, I believe. And it was designed to it was a little confusion because when you register to vote, you were able to register as an independent voter or register in the Independence Party. The party name mimicked the term independent in order to get extra people to register into that party. So our ideals do line up to some extent with what the Independence Party believed in, as well as the Libertarian Party.
All right, because I'm just trying to see and understand that if somebody doesn't want to be a Republican or a Democrat, then what options do they have?
Well, the other two official options are party affiliations are conservative or working families. Beyond that, they now call, I believe the term is a blank. You could register as a blank, which is no party affiliation. The only drawback to that is there's never, if you're not affiliated with a political party, there's never even the chance of having a primary.
And if I remember correctly, because I've run in the past, if you don't want to be, if you're stuck in that situation, then you can still have some kind of sponsorship with the independent party to become, like I say, an elected official through that.
No, you could do what's called independent petitioning.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, and then you will, there is a period outside of the first petitioning period is for the party, designating petitions for a party, which runs, I think, February into March or March into April, somewhere in that area. Then shortly thereafter is the independent petitioning period. The number of required signatures on your petitions is different. It's a different way to get on the ballot. If you succeed, then you're automatically in the general election in November. There is no petition for an independent candidate in June.
Okay. So now, how would somebody join the Conservative Party if they wanted to join?
It's the same as joining the Democrat Party, Republican Party, or the working families for that matter. You register with the Board of Elections, you register to vote, and there is a choice. You have a choice on there between the four parties and independent or a blank. So it's the same process while you're filing, while you're registering to vote. You can select the Conservative Party on your voter registration form.
Voter registration form, you get that at the Board of Election, the DMV.
Most libraries. And there's also several methods online to register. I know somebody I spoke to recently registered through the DMV website. There is a portal to register to vote. And, of course, there is a Board of Elections website. There's both the city website, New York City Board of Elections, the New York State Board of Elections, and the Federal Board of Elections. All have websites. I believe that you can find links in any of those to register to vote.
And what if they wanted to speak to somebody in the Conservative Party itself?
We have a Facebook page. We have I use my personal number at this time. I'm trying to grow the party, but we don't have a website at this time. We are working towards that. But you can find us on Facebook right now at the Bronx County Conservative Party.
Okay. And any upcoming plans for the Conservative Party?
Well, as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning I have a group of individuals that I've been speaking with that want to not only join the Conservative Party and register as registered conservatives, they want to become leaders within the party, and they want to grow the party. So we are meeting tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. at the Board of Elections on the Grand Concourse, and I'm going to walk in with these individuals. There's at least 7 at this point. And we're going to walk in. We're going to register them from whichever party they're with currently. I believe some are Democrats, some are independents, and some are even Republicans. They're going to walk in and we're going to walk out. They're going to walk out as conservatives. And not only that, they're going to be the future leaders within the Conservative Party.
And how did that come about?
Well, I've been working along with yourself and speaking with others. especially in the poorer communities around the Bronx, a lot of people that I speak to are telling me they're starting to realize that the Democratic Party's interests are not their interests. Most of the actions that are being taken by our current elected officials, I don't like to call them leaders, because they're elected to represent us. They're technically not represented to lead us. We are supposed to lead our representatives. And they're realizing that the laws being put forth by these elected are not in their best interests. Their neighborhoods, especially the poorer neighborhoods, are suffering more from the crime and the repeat offenders and these individuals being allowed in and out of jail. And they're coming to realize now that they don't align with the Democratic Party, and they want to make that step away. And I'm more than happy to help them to do that.
Well, I remember like my window of coming into like politics. It was like about 8 or 9 years ago. Devil Dog USA has, we have our offices and stuff like that.
Yes.
And there was I guess somebody running in the district that we were in, and they were being threatened that the location that they were at, if they continued to do political form, that the organization would lose their nonprofit status. Yes. And when I heard that, I was like, well, you can hold your event, your form in our office, and nobody's going to threaten us in that manner. And for me, that was like the opening of my political understanding of what's going on in the neighborhood. Nonprofits have to deal with, elected officials and stuff like that.
Yes.
For a majority of my career, I've worked with them, but I've never partnered with them much because we try to focus more on getting the community involved and helping out. So when I heard about that, I started investing into other ways to help out. Not particularly picking any sides or any individual specifically, having an open door for people to say, hey, if you need a voice or if you need something to help you with the resources that are needed without, affiliating or being scared, then our doors are open. And Vet Talk has done at least 10 interviews with, political candidates while they were coming in. You're the first chairman that we've had in a party. Once again, I already said thank you for that. But what we saw and what I've seen over the years is, once again, over 95% of elected officials are Democrats. Yes. And you see like a hold on the power, like trying to get any further. You'll see there are tactics to hold somebody from going the extra step or distance or something like that. The Republican Party, I've reached out to them many times on different things. One of the partners that we have is the Bronx Veteran Political Party, which they have, we have cigar nights and stuff like that. They've never accepted any of our invitations or anything like that. So I've seen them or I've heard of them, but I've never seen them that much. Where would you say that the stance is the Conservative Party right now? You have new leaders coming up, so that's a current thing. What about the future plans?
Well, the future plans are to grow the party. And to some of your points, I feel that both the Democratic and the Republican parties have taken the voice away from the membership. And that's the number one thing I hear when I ask people why they don't go out and vote. It's because my vote doesn't matter. My party tells me who my candidates are, and I get to choose between two people I don't want to vote for. It's my goal to grow the Conservative Party, increase our enrollment, and bring the voice back to the people. We just had our first primary in the Conservative Party in, I think it was 40 or close to 50 years. I welcomed it. I was being questioned, why you're a chairman of a political party. How could you welcome a primary? Well, our country was founded on the people's voice, not on the party's voice. And I feel that both Democrat and Republican parties are more interested in maintaining their power than doing the right thing for their constituents.
And that race you're talking about, that was the 13th district?
That was in the 13th City Council district, yes. It got quite a bit uglier than I would have liked. There was Democratic, Republican, and conservative primaries. Candidates in the Republican and conservative primaries were the same. The only difference was in the conservative primary, we did not back any particular candidate. We did not endorse a candidate. We strove to create a level playing field for all three candidates and to let our voters speak. The Republican Party had an endorsed candidate, and the establishment party worked with that candidate and attempted to eliminate the other candidates from the primary, as did the Democratic Party. They chose to make the decision on their own as the leadership of the party and try and prevent any other candidate from being heard. Again, it's my feeling and my members of my committee that every registered conservative should be heard and have the opportunity to express their opinion on every candidate.
So maybe for just somebody who really didn't get that because they're not too knowledgeable on the political part. So let's say there was a stronghold in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So where does the Conservative Party fit in there? Now, you gave an opening for them to get their voice heard and have a shot.
Right.
But how would they go about to get that opportunity?
Well, it would be to attend meetings. We're looking to expand again and open up. I'm attempting and I'm trying to secure locations in different areas of the Bronx so that we can have Conservative Party meetings not only in one place and not have a stationary headquarters, but rather travel around to different areas because, quite honestly, different areas of the Bronx have different concerns, have different needs. And most people can't travel, and I want to make it convenient and easy for everybody to be heard.
And you being the chairman of the county, and that's your focus.
Yes.
And what would you want your leaders to be focusing on?
You mean my area leaders?
Your area leaders.
Well, the breakdown of the party. I don't know how technical we want to get here. There's assembly district leaders, and basically these are the people that I'm meeting with tomorrow that are registering over, and their goals are going to be within each one of their areas of the Bronx to do outreach and try and recruit new membership, especially members that want to be active. Again, I feel people are tired of not being heard, and we as a party are going to listen. And each district leader, I am asking to do outreach in their areas, have weekly meetings, have daily meetings if they want. But the idea is to include everybody.
So now this is one of those situations where I try to bring up regarding when somebody says everybody. So back to the beginning of the conversation, when I talk to individuals and I say, well, what do you think about the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, whatever? My conversations never said, what do you really think about the Conservative Party? Mm-hmm. Only to recently did I started asking that question.
Right.
And most people would say, let's say the LGBT community.
Yes.
Would the Conservative Party be looking for people in that demographics to join, or what's the process with that?
Absolutely. We don't discriminate. Okay, our whole philosophy is, and I've used this line to you, I don't have to accept you, but I do have to respect you. And if members of the LGBT community join the Conservative Party, that's their prerogative. I have met several that share out most of our views. Again, it's we're focused on the individual, not the group. Okay, so it's a part of your personality. That's fine. I'm saying, like, we would appreciate if you were a drag queen, you didn't come to a conservative meeting in drag. We ask for mutual respect. We will respect you as long as you respect us.
So you would ask, but you wouldn't force it. Them not
Right.
to.
We would not force, we wouldn't discriminate against anyone. Where our focus, again, is whereas traditional American values, it's also individual rights and individual responsibilities.
So a view of Constitution, religion, anything else? Am I missing anything that you would?
No,
throw in there?
I mean, that's basically it. We're trying, along with the traditional American values is patriotism and national pride. That's become such a hot button term. National pride, they equate it with white supremacy and Marxism and all these crazy things. But meanwhile, every immigrant that comes here with national pride, and we welcome that. There is no shame in national pride. And again, there's a difference between pride and forcing your ideology on others. That's where I personally draw the line. Again, back to the LGBTQ. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. I just ask that you don't force it upon me. Just as I will not force my heterosexuality onto you.
And I get that. Devil Dog USA. We've sponsored or been a part of LGBT events throughout our 10-year history. Fighting the forefronts for veterans that were receive other than honorable discharges, trying to help them get the knowledge and get the resources that they need to upgrade their discharge, and also safety precautions with local law enforcement and just helping them with their Pride event. We have, I think this 15th of July, we're helping with the 12th annual Pride Parade in the Bronx. And, our part, is just supporting them with putting their event up together and taking it down. So I get that part. Now, you mentioned something regarding immigrants.
Yes.
Obviously, immigrants can't vote or participate in a party, but once they become citizens, they have that option.
Well, actually, New York City is a little different.
Okay.
New York City, several years ago, passed it's non-resident voting as long as you're here legally. And I believe, again, I could be mistaken, but I believe it did pass through all the hurdles. And it will give anybody who's here legally, doesn't explain what that is. If you have a green card and you're working here, that you are allowed to vote in municipal elections, which means only New York City elections. Which by extension, and I'm really thinking now, the recent influx of immigrants from the southern border that have been relocated to New York, they are being given a temporary citizen status, a legal residence status. So now, as I believe it, they will be allowed to vote for who's mayor of New York City. And I think this is a problem that we need to look into. That may be a little loophole in the law that wasn't thought about, or maybe it was thought about, and it may be a plan as a way of preserving power.
Well, I know recently I help the. So part of my work as a case manager for Devil Dog USA is to help individuals that want to become citizens. Now, they can become different ways. Like I say, a veteran met someone overseas, and they want to get married. We help them through that process. But since we have an open door policy, there have been people that have come to my office saying, "I just want to be a citizen." Obviously, if they're illegal, I can't help them. But if they have residency, or some sort of green card, then the process is a lot easier for me to help out. And I did my third full cycle of helping somebody get in to join the U.S.
Excellent.
And one of the things that they tell you once you do the ceremony is you can go outside and vote. Get ready.
Yes.
There's registration set up. Their speech was like, you can vote. We can't tell you what to do, but we'll have somebody outside. Can they speak your language? If you're there for 5 hours in a ceremony, is the first thing you want to do is go outside and start filling out paperwork? I didn't think that was the best opportunity, but I understand. Because I have some knowledge of the voting process, I took them aside and I said, hey, we'll do it a different day.
Right.
And I give them an outlook of everything. I try to be bipartisan as much as I can, pretty much for everything. And so when it comes to the influx, let's say the asylum individuals aside, immigrants or people that were residents that are now becoming citizens that want to, become registered voters, I'm assuming you'd be interested in those individuals.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think that some like an immigrant coming from a different country what would make the Conservative Party more to their liking?
Well, once they realize and they learn what the Conservative Party is about, it's a natural fit for most immigrants. I got to tell you, 2 years ago, I had a wave where I had quite a few West Africans that had been registered as Democrats that came to a meeting, and they felt they had been bamboozled because they had a conservative lifestyle back at home. They believed in family. They believed in the core values, which is why everybody comes here to the United States. And I guess, I did have someone say, like as you did, is when they walked out, as soon as they got their citizenship, there were representatives from the Democratic Party there saying, here, sign this paper, register to vote, register as a Democrat. We work for you. You're the people we work for. And I got to tell you, I had at least half a dozen individuals at a meeting told me that they felt they had been lied to and that they don't agree with any of the ideology of the Democratic Party, and they did register as conservatives.
Well, I registered as a Democrat when I was 18 or 19 when I got my car, and I did the donor registration with the voter registration at the same time. But for me, coming from the Bronx as a kid, I'm now in California doing I think it was an absentee ballot type of stuff.
Okay.
So for me, I didn't know who was in office. I didn't know anybody back at home at the time because I'm in the military on the West Coast, so that wasn't a big priority for me.
Right.
And once again, back in my head, I'm thinking, what party do I align with? I just automatically put Democrat because that's what I assume I should be back, from where I grew up. But I've never voted because I've never felt like anybody that was in my party or in my district had reached out to me knowing the work that I've been doing that was so prominent. It wasn't like we have I'm working from home or anything. Having an office, helping veterans, bringing out the community, inviting them to our own events and stuff like that. Not one person ever took the time to say, hey, vote for me because of this reason.
Right.
Now I'm bringing this up because I want to ask, for the veteran community, one of the things that we try to do is try to get them to more information and more resources that are out there. Let's say they want to join the Conservative Party. Would you think a veteran would be ideal for the Conservative Party?
Absolutely. Again, any veteran, and I thank you for your service, and I thank all veterans out there. Again, I feel veterans, you join the military because you have a sense of national pride. And you know, you fought for freedom. And our party, in my opinion, we align the most with the ideals and the whole reason why somebody would go and give up 2, 4, or 20 years or more of their life to the military. It's in service to the country.
Now, because I have you here, it's easy for that situation to bring up like that in this type of alignment right here. For me, I've always been bipartisan in pretty much anything that I try to do. So even having a talk show or anything like that, I always try to tell people, I want you to vote. I want you to register. I want you to vote. I don't care who you do it for. I just want to make sure you have the knowledge and the resource to decide.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. And, I have, even this election cycle, this primary, I've made statements that, just get out and vote. I don't care. It's more important to me, even as chairman of the party, that you get out and vote rather than who you vote for. It makes me sad in this country where it is so easy for us to vote. Nobody does it. It's not regarded as something noble, let's say. And then I see pictures from Iraq after Saddam Hussein was taken out of power. The people showing the ink on their fingers that they went out to vote, and people walk for hours in other countries just to vote. And it's a badge of pride. Meanwhile, here in the United States, most of the people don't want to be bothered. And that really pains me. And as you said, I'm not bipartisan. I am a party chair, but I try to be. And as I said, even if you're going to vote for somebody that I don't like, that is not from my party, I'd rather you go out and vote than stay at home.
Hear, hear. With that being said, the individual, the last person that I helped with their citizenship, there was one of the first things that they said they wanted to do was go vote. So for me, I'm like, let's do it. Let's get together and do that.
Yes.
I'm sure you would want to meet more people like that are eager to do that. And I wish there was more people. The whole point of me even having a topic of, the political part that we do is so that more people can do it. Yeah. Like right now, and I'm just throwing these numbers around, but most elections are won with a couple thousand votes. Let's say a local city council person can win with like 3,000 votes in a district that has over 65,000 individuals, registered voters. That's a ridiculous amount of numbers for somebody to win the power that they're walking into. You're talking about $38,000 job and controlling millions of dollars that are going to the resources to the community, and putting themselves in a position where they can put people where they want that may not be the best fit, and all that could be changed or challenged if more people voted.
Absolutely.
So now you have leadership coming out. What would you say for somebody who wants to make that change to come up to you and present and say, look, I want to be somebody who's running for city council or a congressman or a future mayor under the Conservative Party? What would they have to come to you to be in that position?
I kind of lost.
Well, just if they wanted to run for office.
If they wanted to run for office, well, we have a process of selecting candidates. When somebody approaches us for our endorsement, there's an executive committee. We'll sit down and we'll speak with them, get a general idea of their ideology, and if they're a good fit, then we will give an endorsement. Unfortunately, not as many candidates come to us as I would like. The anomaly was this 13th City Council district. We actually interviewed, I believe it was 6 different candidates that were seeking that position. We found 5 of them acceptable, and we decided to offer all 5 the opportunity to participate in the primary. 5, actually, we offered 6 the opportunity, I think. 1 declined. 5 attempted to make the ballot, but 2 were unsuccessful at getting the required minimum number of signatures on their petitions. And that's, a brief rundown of the process of becoming a candidate. But one of the biggest things as a party chair, one of the biggest problems I have is finding qualified candidates or people who want to be candidates, which is one of the things you and I spoke about, Gonzalo. The program you want to start getting veterans involved in running for office in their local communities. I think that's an incredible idea. And I really look forward to working with you on moving that forward.
Now, one thing that you said, the ideology. So I've been taking notes. Patriotism, nationalism, an idea of what about the religion part? Like if somebody says to me, this is my religious views on something, where does the Conservative Party stand with that?
Well, the Conservative Party, again, to me, and the way I look at it and the way I judge people, is more of a spirituality thing. I had somebody recently pose the question to me, I'm not Catholic, can I become a conservative? And I said, absolutely. I said, it's not our party and our members, it's not any one specific religion, but it's the idea of spirituality, and having that belief in family and having respect for others, which to me, that's what most religions or pretty much every established religion is based in, us respecting each other as people, as human beings. And, you don't have to be. We have Jewish members. We have Catholic members. Sure, we have atheist members. I don't judge people by their religious affiliation.
Well, I like the sound of that, and that will help a lot of people. One of the things that, once again, I was trying to bring up is, what is the ideal candidate of somebody, not only just to be in the party, but run for office and right now, city council election is this year.
Yes.
Next year, I believe, is the congressional.
Next year is going to be presidential. And congressional. I don't know if there's any Senate seats up.
Yeah, so getting a push for people to join your soon-to-be leaders, trying to increase the party. I'm assuming there's a plan for next year to try to get some more people in office or at least run.
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to, as part of our expansion tomorrow and ongoing, is also finding people that want to run, for far too long, especially here in the Bronx. We have this 95% Democratic leadership that runs unopposed every time. They're not opposed from within the party, and oftentimes they're not opposed by the Republicans or the Conservatives. I would like to see every single race be contested, and I would like to see a conservative candidate in every single race in New York City.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember writing, I write articles as well regarding different subjects on the political side. I remember there's at least maybe 51 maybe city council positions.
It's 51 city council seats.
And less than 30 were opposed this year, and even less were going to make to the primary, if that, maybe a handful make it to primary. And then across the board, there's, what people don't understand is that, it's not just president, mayor, or senators. There's also district leaders, county committeemen, state committeemen. Even if you didn't want to be an elected position, you could be appointed positions like community boards. That's
Yes.
one of the biggest hits for me that I put in. This I don't remember the number, like 80 something, 89 across New York City, and very few of them are manned,
Right.
and they get appointed by, I believe, the borough president
Yes.
for
Yes.
them. And like from I moved from, I believe it was Community Board 6 to Community Board 3, and my community board was closed for like 3 or 4 months. Well, at least from that, what I know, we're trying to
Right.
reach to them. They could have been closed longer. And even now, there's no real presence at the community board for my district. I go in, I check on occasion, and they're like, we don't have the staff, or whatever reason that they have that month. And I've seen other ones that are just closed down. It's in my mind, I'm thinking the community board is where you need first, frontline access to your representatives and your community resources and stuff like that. And if they're closed off, then what's the point?
Well, one of the issues is they're not paid positions. I believe it's only one. I believe it's only the district manager is the only paid position on each community board. So that's one of the hurdles, and people have to make a living. They can't sit in the community office all day long. One of the other issues with the community boards is, as you said, they serve at the pleasure of the borough president. So that creates a huge issue. Well, how are you going to go against the borough president now? You're in a position where you have some influence, because community boards only have advisory votes as well. They don't have a deciding vote. It's advisory votes. Now, how are you going to vote against the wishes of the borough president when you're in a job? You're just volunteering for your community. And if you vote against your borough president, you're going to be taken out of even this voluntary position. And so that's what really, I'd have to use the word neuters the community boards. They're an entity that doesn't really have any power. It's not uncommon when a community board member goes against the grain or the popular movements of the Democratic Party, that they're either removed or they're not reappointed at the next session.
And I've heard, and I've seen and heard a lot of people that would be good for those positions, but they're not given a fair shot because they most likely would be opposed to what
Right.
the top figures would think.
If you keep opposing, you're just going to get removed. So it makes it very difficult for community boards to function.
Well, I always recommend people try to get involved with their local community and try to do community boards as well, because although it's yes, the manager is the one that's the only paid position and a well-paid position
Absolutely.
as well, and everyone else is volunteer. That position also advises where lots of money goes towards helping the community.
Yes.
So a big point of reference of that is you may not have the power for a lot, but you have the ability to advise and make a decision where a lot of money is being distributed. Participating budgeting is one of them.
Absolutely. And I may have seemed a little negative on it the way I spoke. Thank you for correcting me on that. No, it does serve a function, because as Gonzalo's saying, there is some discretionary spending that goes on in the communities, and the community boards are given input on many things, such like even the placement of crime cameras in the neighborhood. There may be a grant for cameras to be installed somewhere, and in those circumstances, yes, the community board does. It is important, and what I said earlier, I don't want to discourage people from looking to serve on their community boards. To me, another thing I preach is everybody comes out to vote for the president, but nobody comes out to vote for their city council member.
No.
When in reality, the actions of your city council member have more effect on your daily life than the actions of the president. Politics is local, and if you want to change, you need to start in your own community. And I tell people, come out we don't have school board elections anymore in New York City. In Westchester County, I have a lot of friends. I go out and vote for those school boards. It makes a difference more to your daily life.
Once again, you mentioned something that I can't remember. It was like something like a president of a school council or something like that. They always have these different type of programs that they're trying to do, but the knowledge isn't pushed out enough. Like, I wish I could remember the title that they're going for, but I know some kind of school district thing is going on or it just finished that people are trying to vote for. But I'm not trying to go off topic. I do want to mention one more thing regarding the community boards. Something like a community board, and I mentioned earlier, I want to get the perspective of the Conservative Party with immigrants, because let's say the community boards, a lot of the funding are for at the federal level for immigrants, and if they're living in those communities, the goal is to help. I believe I can't remember the exact title of it, but if we're under the 200% of the poverty level, there's more funding at the federal level for the communities,
Right.
and I think the Bronx only has 2 or 3 sections where it's not under the poverty level of the federal guidelines. So there's lots of money that's being filtered in it. But if people aren't working to try to see where it's going, then where's it going?
Right. Well, that's, I mean, that's, again, we're going to go a little off subject here, but, our education system, we spend the most per student in the country. And I think we're at the 21st percentile. It's absurd, and it goes to show money is not the answer. And the bigger question is, where is all this money going to? It's going to administration. There's no reason, all the schools in New York City have been broken up into these smaller schools within the same building, and now you have 3 and 4 principals in the same building, each making $250,000 a year. Far too much of our education money goes to administration and not to the classroom.
No, that's public school, right?
Yes.
And that's the reason why charter schools were so prevalent the last couple of years. To get away from that type of...
Yeah, that's it's a difficult thing to understand. I have kind of an understanding of it. Charter schools are developed under the public school umbrella, and they're funded by the public funds. Each one is given I believe it's 5 years, and they have to show that they could perform above a certain level, above the average. And the Board of Education has very little say in the curriculum in those schools. They're kind of, it's a quasi-privatized thing. As it turns out, with much lower spending, the charter schools have been producing much better results and providing a much better education. And that's what all this discussion is. It's about school choice, but New York City caps the number of charter schools.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Which caps the choices that parents have.
I mean, obviously, if everybody just chose charter schools and the public schools didn't have the enrollment, then they would fall apart. But while I was in the military, the school system changed to have, like, I went to DeWitt Clayton High School, and now I understand there's like 2 or 3 different schools in it. I never really understood that. That really never made any sense to me. I haven't been back to high school any work with them in a while. I've been mostly focusing on middle school and elementary schools in my work profession.
Right.
I like to see what the dynamics difference in those high schools are. So thank you for bringing that up to me. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But besides that, is there anything else that you want to talk about before we sign off?
No, it's just that Conservative Party is here. We want to grow. Come and talk to us. You can contact Gonzalo, can get you in contact with me. And, we want to hear everybody. We want to make the changes we feel are necessary here in the Bronx and, New York City. And we're looking to change the course and the trajectory that we're on right now.
Well, thank you, Pat, for being here today. To those listening, once again, my name is Sergeant Gonzalo Duran, the host of Vet Talk, If you would like to get in touch with the Bronx Conservative Party, feel free to reach out at ceo@devildogUSAinc.org, or feel free to reach out at 516-515 I forgot my own number. 516-515-0240. If there's anything else you guys want to talk about, if you're an organization or individual that's willing to help veterans in the community, feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to have you on Vet Talk. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, JM Empire Media and Vero G Productions, for having us. This is our first show back. Looking forward to many more. And as always, God bless America.